Joseph.
Oh, hello, hello.
Hello. Thank you so much for taking in this class in last minute. We really do appreciate that. Thank you.
Oh,
All
yeah,
right.
it's my pleasure.
Thank you. All right, let me just let students in right now. 17. I think we have like at least 20 something today. All right. Okay. Okay. Then you can go ahead and do the announcement while we're waiting for people. Yes. I think we're filling up. Okay.
Hi guys, so good evening. Thank you, Joseph, for coming in today. Thank you guys for attending. Announcement will be for the workbooks and surveys. The workbook and survey will be up until Friday, 5 p.m. But we really do encourage you guys to submit it during the class or at least tomorrow so you don't have to think on submitting it for the rest of the week. And also, we have an upcoming field trip which will happen on November 16, 2024. It will be the Ignite Conference field trip, and you have to RSVP. And the RSVP link will be up until November 8, 2024. So this field trip will include like professionals and different all walks in life. You can have the chance to connect with them, ask questions, and get inspired with their work, and be inspired with different types of work that you don't even know about. So that's where you will meet them. So we really encourage you guys to join. We will be sending the RSVP link in the group chat. There you go. And the deadline will be November 8th, but the field trip will happen on November 16th. So that's it, Sheila.
Our Yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and add, guys. It's not gonna be boring for you. I know you're thinking if it's an Ignite conference, it's just gonna be you listening to people, but you get to ask the expert questions about the job or career that you'd like in the future, how to make better choices, better career choices. And on that field trip, we're also gonna make it fun for you guys. We're gonna think of some games that you can get into or do, or we're gonna think of a lot of different stuff for you. So please do come on this field trip because you're gonna learn a lot and this is gonna help you choose a career for your future. So, yep, this is gonna be great. And I'm gonna pass it on to Joseph. Thank you.
Cool. That sounds awesome. Hope that y'all sign up for the field trip. I don't know. Well, obviously, I'm not Brittany, and Brittany is usually your teacher. Brittany's kid had some sort of challenge today, so I'm here standing in for her. I'm super excited to be with y'all. There's a Dodgers game happening right now that I am missing to be here because I really care about making sure that you guys have the best opportunity to learn. And so, in that, go Dodgers, go us for being here, and hopefully, I don't know how many of you went to the ropes course on 2 weekends ago. Did anyone here go to the ropes course?
Raise your hand, please.
Okay, cool. Maybe just Diana and Dulce. That's awesome. I was there too. I don't know if you remember me, but hopefully I'm going to show you a picture where it does. Give me 1 second. I'm going to share my screen too. Um, let's see. Whoa. Whoa. All right, hold up. Sorry. There are technical challenges. All right. All right, y'all. Cool. I was dressed up as the dinosaur or an avocado, as some people thought I was at the ropes course. So you may know me from that. So if you don't know me from that, there's me in a dinosaur costume that looks like an avocado. Enjoy that for what it's worth. But super excited to be here. My name is Joseph. One more time, the things that you need for today. I don't know how Brittany teaches her classes, but the way that I teach my class is that you need two things. You need one, your workbook or your submission form. If you don't have the submission form, I think it should be in the chat room right now under week 9 workbook submission. I'm going to give you time in this class to complete it so you all can submit your workbook before 8 p.m. on Friday so you can get the points and you can get the money. so y'all can be successful in what you want to do with it. Another thing that I need from you is I need y'all to be ready to talk. And so in that, I want you to get out of your comfort zones. I want you to speak. I want to hear your brilliant thoughts in whatever's on your mind in these things. So I will be calling on specific people in the class to keep things dynamic. I don't know you that well. So if you don't feel comfortable talking, what you can do is just shoot me a message and I probably will not call on you. But if you don't tell me that, I probably will call on you. And so in that, that's a warning. Hopefully that makes sense. And if it doesn't, it will in a couple of minutes. All right, y'all. So in this class, we've talked about at least 8 things. We are on week 9, but there are 8 weeks where we've talked about vision, around scotomas, around getting out of your comfort zone, around goals, positive self-talk, money, emotions, and feeling better. I want to hear from 3 of you as to what you've gotten out of this past 8 weeks and how did you apply it. And I'd love to hear from Diana, Dulce, and Diane, if you will. So Diana, would you mind kicking us off and sharing what you've learned and how you've applied some of the things you've learned in this class?
Yes, one of the things that I've applied of like what I've learned is like getting out of your comfort zone. Like I feel like especially for like the ropes course and everything, like you had to get out of your comfort zone.
Yeah, for sure. Getting out of your comfort zone is super critical. I'm glad that you took that and applied it in the ropes course and got up high up. Hopefully you either jumped to some buoy thing or you like held a partner's hand to get across those ropes. But it was pretty awesome to see everyone do that. So I'm glad you're applying it in that way. Dulcie, what about you?
I was also gonna say the comfort zone one because I think for my classes, I think now I'm more open to speaking and like asking questions or answering the questions the teacher asks. So yeah.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that. I'm glad that you're also able to get out of your comfort zones too. Diane, what about you?
For me, it's kind of been more of like getting into a positive mindset, like talking to myself that I'm gonna do better and like mastering like the negativity. And I've used it to like just be more confident in myself.
Nice. I'm glad that you're using positive self-talk. It's something that I need to exercise every single day to help me get through my day and my job. And so I'm glad that you're using it in your life too. It's super critical. And thank you for sharing that with all of us. But yeah, let's talk about what we're going to talk about this week. I got a little teaser video for you, and here we go.
Joseph, sorry, there's no audio.
There's no audio?
Yep, mm-hmm.
No? All right, cool. 1 second.
No worries.
All right, let's try that one more time.
The most successful people that I meet.
How about now? Yeah?
Yes.
All
Mm-hmm.
right, cool.
All the most successful people that I meet are really fast decision makers. They don't care if they make the right or the wrong decision. They just make a decision. Yes, Natalia? That's right. The only wrong decision is indecision. Because guess what? At the end of the day, there is no such thing as a wrong decision. Because even if you don't get the outcome that you desire, you're going to get growth. You're going to get an experience that you needed to be better, to do it better next time. I'm so grateful for all the wrong decisions I ever made, because I wouldn't be here if it weren't for them. So make a frickin' decision.
All right, y'all. Today's
All the most
topic
successful people that I
is about battling indecision. And so I don't know much about y'all, and you probably don't know me. So I'm going to tell you a little story about myself just for y'all to get familiar with me and where I needed to make a big decision in my life. And so like I was born and raised in LA. I grew up in a city called Monterey Park, which is close to East LA. And I had the opportunity to decide between a couple colleges. when deciding where to go after high school. And I was trying to debate between like UC Berkeley and UCLA. And I spent like so much time trying to think about like which school to go to. Both of them are like great schools. And I was just really trying to figure out like, do I go to UCLA and like enjoy a nice sunny life? Or do I go to a place like UC Berkeley where I had no idea what NorCal was like? I didn't know sort of what life outside of LA was like. And in my mind, like it was like a no-brainer to go to UCLA. But in my heart, I was like really trying to think about like, is this the right decision? Like, what am I going to do for the rest of my life? Like, it felt so consequential, and that I spent a lot of time thinking about it, and not really coming to a good understanding and a good decision for a really, really long time. Even though it was like 30 days, I thought about it. And so like I was telling my friends, my teachers about it, and some of the advice that they had for me was thinking about like where I would grow the most. And they really challenged me to think about where would I be most primed to like get out of my comfort zone, be able to grow as a leader and be able to try something new. And I was terrified at failing because I don't like trying new things and failing, like probably many of you do as well. But they really pushed me to try something new. And so in that, I started valuing the desire to get out of my comfort zone a little bit more. And I ended up choosing to go to UC Berkeley, which was what I thought was a terrible decision, my first year there, but ended up being a really good one long term, with me being able to try new things and meet new people, and eventually got me connected to youth champions. Very long story short. And so in that, that's one way that I thought about where it was difficult for me to make a decision. I've had many more opportunities to make hard decisions since that moment. And I'm really excited to talk to you more about how to make better decisions and how to battle indecision in general. And so I want you to think about what is one important choice you have to make right now. And I want you to, one, get out your workbooks because this is the first question that you need to answer. And I want you to write it in this box, but I also want you to put it in the chat, and share with your fellow peers as well as to what is one decision you have to make right now. And if you don't feel comfortable sharing in a large audience, just share it with me privately in the DMs. And so really curious to hear, take a second, couple seconds to think about it. And when I see a couple answers, we can move on. All right. I got a DM saying that choosing which college to go to. All right, I'm seeing a couple more in my DMs. Feel free to DM me or feel free to share it amongst everyone. I want to see what decisions y'all are trying to make. Oh yeah, a lot of people are trying to decide what colleges to go to, which is super exciting. All right, some personal life decisions too around making good choices. I like that. What to major in college? Yeah, super important too. Yeah, trying to figure out how to apply for FAFSA. Yeah, I remember those days. All right, I'm looking for 2 more people. All right. How to take a particular exciting exam. What to major in. All right, y'all. These are some hard decisions to make, and super critical, whether it be applying to colleges, trying to figure out how to take a particular exam, trying to figure out financial aid, figuring out if applying early or not. These are like really important decisions, and today's conversation is hopefully going to make it easier for you to make these decisions. And so let's talk about where we're headed. We got 6 bullet points. I'd love for Elisa to read the first 3 and then Brenda to read the next 3. Is there an Elisa in this class? Is there a Brenda in this class?
Yes.
All right. Are y'all next to each other?
No.
Okay. Are y'all related?
She's
Yeah,
my
we're
sister.
sisters.
Okay, cool. All right, sisters, take it off.
Okay. Understanding decision paralysis. Explore the psychological basis and real-life impact of decision paralysis caused by too many options. Prioritizing your values. Learn how identifying and prioritizing personal values can streamline decision-making and align choices with what truly matters. Setting clear criteria and boundaries. Discover techniques to establish clear criteria and boundaries to simplify choices and reduce decision fatigue.
Embracing imperfection. Understand the importance of making good enough decisions and learn strategies to embrace imperfection and learn from mistakes. Practical exercises. Engage in reflective exercises, group discussions, and practical activities to apply the concepts and techniques in real life scenarios. Interactive learning. Participate in breakout room discussions to share experiences, insights, and strategies for overcoming indecision and making confident choices.
Awesome. Hopefully you're all excited about this because these are super critical things to help you in your life. And let's talk a little bit more about the preview. Um, let's see. Angel, do you mind reading the first paragraph? And Ashley, do you mind reading the second paragraph?
Imagine standing in the cereal aisle of your local grocery store, staring at dozens of different boxes, each promising to be the best choice. Minutes turn into what feels like hours, and suddenly you find yourself overwhelmed by the sheer number of options. This scenario might seem trivial, but uh, but it perfectly illustrates a common challenge we all face: decision paralysis. Whether it's choosing a career path, selecting a university, or deciding what to have for dinner, the struggle with indecision can leave us with feeling stuck and anxious.
In our class on battling indecision, we will dive into the root causes of this common issue and equip you with the practical tools to navigate it efficiently. You're learning how to prioritize your values, set clear criteria, and embrace imperfection in your decision making process. Through interactive decisions and hands-on exercises, you'll gain the confidence to make the decisions swiftly and effectively, turning uncertainty into opportunity. Don't let indecision hold you back. Join us and take the first step towards mastering the first decision of making the art of decision making.
Awesome. Thanks for reading that for us both. I want you all to take 15 seconds to reread this, and I'm curious what stuck out to you in this preview, and what do you want to maybe learn more about? All right. Aaliyah, what stuck out to you in this?
Oh,
Oh, there's two. All right, Aaliyah Martinez.
one thing that stood out to me was the prioritizing your root, like prioritizing your values. Like it made me think of like what order would I prioritize my values and like what's important to me, because I feel like it depends on the situation, like things that you value.
Yeah, for sure. Prioritizing decisions or choices is super difficult. And so values is one way to filter and prioritize, and there are a couple others to chat through as well. I'm super excited to share a little bit more about that really quick in a couple minutes. All right, how about other Aaliyah?
I would say about the battling this indecision part, because I tend to do that a lot, and so I would relate to it in a way, and I thought it was important because it's very relatable to me, and just to figure out how to battle it. It was I think it was very important, and that I feel like I need to know.
Yeah, I feel that a lot. I'm like a huge overthinker, and so in that, I take a long time to make a decision, which is not great. So I'm definitely growing in that too. So I feel you in that, and thank you both for sharing and being really gracious, because you both are named Aaliyah, which is awesome. All right, let's talk about understanding the paradox of choice. We talked about it a little bit in the preview, but I want to know, with the quick raise of hands, how many of you know what the paradox of choice is? All right, that's awesome, because you're about to learn about it. All right, let's talk about the paradox of choice. Or basically, the idea is less is more, and too much choice is actually really stressful. And so this is the concept of having mental fatigue, where you are exhausted from making too many choices, or you're facing too many complex choices. And so as the day goes on, your ability to make quality decisions actually goes down, making it more likely to make poor choices, like maybe buying that candy at the grocery store or doing something that you wish you didn't. The fact that there's too many hard choices, or too many choices in general, really makes it less like more of a miserable decision the more number of choices that you have, and the quality of choices that you make also goes down the more choices you have. And so while you might think that having more choice is better than having less choices, there's actually science that backs up that more choices lead to longer decision time. And you might tend to seek the perfect choice, not just the good one, which can slow down decision making. It also increases anxiety, where too many options can overwhelm you, leading to anxiety and self-doubt of like, should I have chosen this college over another college, or this other college? Should I apply to this particular program or another program or another program? How do you decide? How do you know you're making the right decision? Which might lead to something like inaction, where it can lead to decision paralysis, which causes you to make no decision at all, which is in itself a decision as well. And overall, it's going to decrease satisfaction, that even though a good choice might feel unsatisfying, uh, it's still a good choice, and we don't realize that. And we are dissatisfied. And so in the world where you have so many choices being flung at you with all the great options you have, having less choice is actually more, because it's really hard to make good decisions when you're positioned with a ton of decisions. And so that is the paradox of choice. And that is something that's critical, because you might not realize that you are exhausted in making decisions unless if you realize, or if you're aware of this particular goal, or this particular paradox rather. And so I want you to go to your workbooks and think about the choice that I had you think about at the first question that I asked you. And I want you to risk out a couple of reasons why it might be difficult to make the choice in your submission form. And so go back to your submission form or your workbooks and write down the answer. I'll give you about 30 seconds to do that. All right. Hopefully you had couple seconds to write out some reasons. We're going to talk about some of those reasons in the breakout rooms, so no need to share them out here, but I want to make sure that y'all are prepared to use some of the answers that you have and know that we will revisit them in the breakout rooms afterwards. So let's move on. And I want to get you all into the chat. I know some of you are sick, you are not able to talk. This is a way for you to participate as well. But I also want to know, like, from y'all who are trying to make some tough decisions, do you feel like you have the tools you need to make tough decisions? And so I want you to go into the chat. I don't want you to DM me. I want you to share with everybody whether or not you feel definitely, somewhat, or not really, or not at all prepared to make some of these tough decisions with the tools. And so write A, B, C, or D, depending on how you're feeling. Everybody go to the chat. I want to see some answers. All right. A lot of B's. All right. Thank you for the person who did share that they are not an A, B. Thanks for sharing that you're a C or a D. For those who wrote that, I think it is awesome that you are vulnerable in where you're at, and everybody has so much room to grow. And by the end of this class, I want to make sure that you have some tools to make some tough decisions. Some of these things will be no-brainers, like you've been doing this already, and some of them hopefully will be like net new things you can start applying to your life. And so let's dive in to figuring out what are some of the tools that we have to help you make some good decisions, or help you make some tough decisions. And so I want to start off with some practical steps. And so we just talked about the paradox of choice, where you have so many choices and you don't know what to pick, and there's just so many. And so what you want to be able to do is limit the options that you have. And instead of 20 options with all the 20 majors, narrow it down to the 3 that you are most excited about, or the 3 that you filter down. And we talked about in the preview, how do we use some of the values that we defined in week 1 in setting our goals to help us understand what might be the way to narrow some of these choices. And so values are a great start in using them as a filtering method. And so if you set your values in advance, it helps when your decision making comes up. For example, if your values are studying, hanging out with friends, and earning money, it can make it easier when you have a choice on Saturday afternoon, because deciding to study math, studying English, science, going to the mall, watching a movie, going to skate park, picking up an extra shift, submitting resumes, like there's so many things that you could do. But if your value is studying, and that's the number one thing. You can really narrow all the options down to just one thing. That's a super simple example, but really think about your values. If you're thinking about college, maybe some of the things that you value are social life, or academics, or a particular program that you're looking for. And in narrowing sort of the colleges that you can apply to, figure out what really matters to you and limit your options based on that. Also, luckily, like some of the things that I saw a lot of you trying to make decisions on have a time limit, or like they have a deadline to hit, but give yourself a deadline and saying, I need to make this decision in 3 days. And it's a random day to just say, like, I need to make a decision, but it gives you the opportunity to say, like, I don't want to spiral about this anymore. I just need to make a decision and move on. And that time frame can really give you the opportunity to really narrow, and make a decision quick. And if the decision is so big, instead of making a big decision and just having a lot of anxiety, maybe narrow it down to a couple of smaller decisions. Like, for example, if you have like 10 colleges you're thinking of, maybe you decide, like, for a couple of criteria, I'm going to narrow it down first. And so you make a decision for 3 colleges, and then so on and so forth. And so in that, maybe like a bracket, and you try to battle like one option over the other and just pick one versus like a whole big thing. Chances are the big decision that you're thinking about are a series of really smaller decisions. Maybe you can break it down. It can make decision making a little bit easier. And so I want you to go back to your workbook, look at the choices that you listed in the first question, or look at the choice that you listed in the first question we talked about, and choose one of these practical steps, to write out how you might apply it to your current situation. And so the practical steps that we talked about are these 3. See for the choice, which one of these might help you in your choice that you're trying to make. And so I'll give you all 30 seconds to think about that. All right. Hopefully you talked about it in your minds and you have one of these things applied in there. I'd like for maybe one person to volunteer and share, sort of what the decision is and how they might apply one of these steps. Anybody want to volunteer?
I mean, I guess for me, it would be choosing like what college I want to go to, and by like in order to overcome that, I'm probably gonna limit my options by doing like more research about each college and like taking out the ones that I'm not really too interested in, and then I would limit that so I won't be too stressed on which college I want to go to.
That's awesome. Like, that is an absolutely great approach for that. There are like thousands of colleges in this country that you're eligible to go to. And by narrowing it down, that's a great way to figure out, like, maybe which ones are the top 3 that you really want to go to, and narrow that in a way that's helpful. Thank you for sharing that. Ahani, is that how you pronounce your name? Anahi? Sorry, Anahi?
Anai.
Anai. All right, thank you,
Yeah.
Anai. Appreciate that. All right. Um, cool. Let's talk about a couple more tools to use, in making decisions. And so you might know some of these already. Let's talk about the pros and cons list first. And so pros and cons list is very simple. Let's say that y'all are trying to figure out which college to go to. You can write a list of the pros and cons in each school that you want to go to. For example, like this one is a 22-minute morning commute to from where you're living to where it's at. If you value geographical location, you might want to write that down in that as well. And so it's a very simple pros and cons list, and then compare it against the other options to see which one has more pros and which one has less cons, and try to figure out what matters to you the most. Another tool to use is something called a decision matrix. And so some of the things that you can do and is sort of write down the criteria that matter, like cost, the size of the school, location, the majors that you're interested in, scholarships, maybe professor to student ratio, and give it a score from 1 to 10 for the different types of colleges. And in that, see which ones come out the most. You can also weight it by saying, I value like cost and majors over everything else. So I'm going to give cost the weight of 6. And so I have 6 points to allocate to each college. And I'm going to allocate that to 5 to college 1, 1 to college 1, and 3 to college 3. And for the majors options, let's say college 3 has some great options. I'm going to give it 5 points out of 7. College 2, not so great. So I'm going to give it 1. And college 1 is pretty good. So I'm going to give it 3. And this helps you say what exactly is the thing that matters to me, and give it some weight to it, and then apply it across the colleges that you're considering. Or you could just start with a weight of everything equal, and then you can see how that tabulates out. Sometimes it doesn't feel right and you really have to think about it. But this is another way to set the criteria that matter, set the options that you have, and then put a weight so you know what matters the most for you. The next tool I want to talk about is something called the Pareto analysis, or better known as the 80-20 rule. The idea here is that 80% of what matters is actually like given to you by 20% of things. And so another way to say it's like 80% of your outcome is really determined by 20% of your action. It's that type of dynamic where you like less is more. If you focus on the things that really are impactful, that's going to make more impact than doing everything. For example, I don't have one for college right here, but let's say that you're trying to figure out in a business one day that when you're in the real world, where should I fix my like business? And you take a look at customer concerns to think about like, okay, people are not working with me, so let's hear about their concerns. And you have a couple of reasons why you think people won't work with you. Maybe your design of the product sucks. Maybe using the product sucks. Maybe the price is not good, or the service is not good, or the quality is not good. And you take a survey of your customers, and you find out that actually people really have a lot of pain. Like 85% of my customers have a lot of pain with quality, and 40% have service, and price is like 18%, but everything else is kind of minimal. And so when you are trying to figure out like what are the things I should focus on, figure out like what are the top things, maybe the top 20% of the things that you have, like maybe what are the top like couple of colleges or things that matter to you, and then figure out which one of those have the most impact. And so for this business, that's quality, service, and price. And so as the business owner, I'm going to say, instead of focusing on all these things, I'm just going to focus on the things that like fix 80% of my problems by doing 20% of the things on this list. And so you can use that as a tool as well, to be able to make better decisions. And so I want you to go back to the first question, the first decision that you made, and I want you to see which one of these options or tools that we just discussed applies most to your particular decision, and write out why. So the 3 tools that we looked at are frameworks of the pros and cons list, decision matrix, and Pareto analysis. So go back to the first the first question that we talked about, and which one of these tools might be helpful for you to use. I'm gonna give you guys 15 more seconds. All right. I'm curious to hear from a couple of you, which one of these tools do you think you might apply? I'm curious to hear, maybe Jennifer, do you mind sharing?
I put the pros and cons list personally just because I've used it, and I feel like with that type of technique, I could really weigh out which one like has more benefits than the other.
Great. Yeah, that's a great application, especially if you used it before. I'm glad that you're familiar with that particular tool. Yasmin, how about you?
I would say the same as Jennifer because I also use pros and cons list as well because like I feel like I base it on like how severe like the con is and then like how beneficial the pro can be. So
Yeah, it's definitely easier to do that. If you're super familiar with it, I think all of us can make a list of what's great and what's not so great about something. Arissa, how about you?
I said to do a pros and cons list, because I wanted to weigh the advantages and disadvantages of a particular topic, and then that's what my ultimate choice would lie on.
Yeah, a lot of pros and cons lists people over here, which makes total sense because I think it's a lot easier to write a pros and cons list is something that you're very probably most familiar with. The other ones are a little bit harder to apply, I'm gonna say. And so in that, I would consider using the other two. If you're trying to make a really hard decision and you are maybe really wanting to dive into the details, but if you feel most comfortable with the pros and cons list, that's also a great way to write it down on paper and get your thoughts out. So hopefully some of these frameworks will help you in the future. But let's talk about shifting your mindset for embracing decisions. And so this brings together positive self-talk. This brings together um, basically goal setting, and also being able to like have a growth mindset. And so embracing uncertainty is, sometimes are held back because of things that we will never know. And so we may overthink things like, what if this thing happens? What if I hate this college? What if I suck at this major? What if I make no friends if I move to this new town? What if I don't have, what if my financial aid doesn't come through? What if there thousands of what ifs that can come up. Some of them are really meaningful, some of them are less. And so I would challenge you in terms of embracing uncertainty to really not let the hypotheticals get in the way of real progress. A key thing in being able to embrace decisions is just finding the next step. And sometimes you don't need to figure out the next major leap to make. You just need to make a little hop, and that can be enough to embrace uncertainty. Embracing imperfection. Perfect is often the enemy of progress. And changing your target from making the perfect decision or the best decision and embracing a good decision can cut out on paralysis. And so, in that, don't let perfect be the enemy of good. A good decision and making a decision quickly can help you figure out if this is the right decision or not. Decision to make no decision because you can't find the perfect decision is a decision to do nothing at the end of the day. And in that, embrace the bad. If you make a quick decision and you fail, at least you failed fast and you can recover fast as well. Versus you spending like 30 days thinking about it and then you make a decision and it was the wrong decision, you just wasted 30 days. Whether when you might have been able to create a great decision within maybe 30 seconds and just be like, I'm gonna try it. And if I don't like it, I can do something else because I only wasted 30 seconds versus 30 days. And so, as we talked about in the Failing Better class, failure is a part of success. Sometimes we make bad decisions, but embracing that is part of the learning process. And you are one step closer to making an easier and the better decision because you found out that the decision that you made wasn't the best one. And you can move forward and grow and figure that out. And so don't worry too much about imperfection, the uncertainty, and making a wrong decision. Ultimately, you're going to be fine. You are young and you can recover and you'll learn something either way. And so I want you to go back to your workbooks and I want you to think of a time when you made a decision that turned out to be a bad one. What did you learn from it? Spend maybe 30 seconds to reflect on that. All right, y'all. Hopefully you had some time to think about that. Everyone here has made a bad decision. We are all failures. But in that, we've all failed and we've all achieved and we all got up the next day to do another thing that was difficult and we're all here. And so I want you to take this question into your breakout rooms and share with the group the time that you made a bad decision, what the decision was, why was it bad, and what did you learn from it? And the way that I like to do breakout rooms is that I want you all to pick a leader. If someone doesn't volunteer in the first 10 seconds, the person whose name is closest to Jay is the leader. They get to kick off the conversation by sharing it, and then they get to choose who gets to speak next. And that person who speaks after that gets to choose who gets next, and until y'all are done. And so pick a leader or the name with the person, or the person with the name closest to Jay is the leader. Share your responses, and the leader is meant to come back and share insights from the group. If you all run out of, like, if you all like finish all the questions and you don't know what else to talk about, share something about how your day is going, your highs and low. And so I want to give you all maybe 7 minutes to go into breakout rooms, and then we'll come back afterwards. Are we ready for breakout rooms? All right, welcome back, everybody. Welcome back. Hopefully you enjoyed that conversation. I heard that maybe y'all don't do breakout rooms very often in this class, so that was really awkward. Thanks for sticking through that. I am curious to hear from one of the leaders here what your group talked about and what your group got out of it. Can I get one of the leaders to volunteer and share what their group talked about?
Alia, would you like to share? She's in my breakout room, Joseph.
Great.
Oh, sorry, I heard Aubrey. Oh, in our breakout room, we basically talked about how like a really significant challenge or like decision that we had to make, it affected us like academically. Like some of us talked about like either not studying for a test we thought wasn't going to be important, or like not turn in an assignment that cost us like a grade. So different like things like that kind of affected us long term that now we like learned from and we know not to do that anymore and to prioritize like things that we value the most.
Yeah, that makes total sense. Glad that y'all talked about that and hopefully had a good time chatting. Can I get one more group to volunteer and share a little bit more what y'all talked about? All right, I guess not, because we're almost at time and I want to leave some room for announcements. And so hopefully y'all fill out your workbooks. You're all able to submit it. And I hope that you enjoy this conversation in figuring out how to battle through indecision. Next week, we're going to talk about money again and talking about banking, credit, debt, and loan. If you don't know what these words mean, by the end of next week, you will know what these are, which are going to be super critical in setting you up for success as well. And so thanks for letting me be your substitute teacher for a little bit. I'll turn it over to Den or Ren to share a little bit more of the announcements again.
Go ahead, Dan.
Thank you, Joseph, for again being a substitute for this class. Thank you guys for attending and being so great in breakout rooms. So, just a quick reminder again for your workbooks and surveys. The deadline will be until Friday, 5 p.m. But if you could submit today or at least tomorrow, we really encourage you guys to do that. And we have an upcoming field trip, which is the Ignite Conference field trip, which will happen on November 16, 2024. And you can RSVP until November 8th. So we really encourage you guys to attend this field trip. It's gonna be fun. You're gonna meet a lot of professionals from all fields with different careers. You're gonna have a chance to ask them to connect and get inspired for your future careers that some of you might not know yet. So that's it. Thank you. Sheila.
Sorry, yeah. Thank you. Thank you everyone for coming in and thank you Joseph for taking in on this class. I know you have a Dodgers game and I know that is also precious. So thank you so much. Thank you for choosing our students for this. So I just really like to thank everyone here for coming also and I'll see you guys next week. Thank you. Thank you Joseph. Bye. Say bye. Oh, your paw is not clean. Bye.